I was at the airport and saw a gun appear on the X-ray scanner. I saw it, and then in an instant, it was gone. Very interesting, I thought. And so in this post, let's talk about real-time quality checks, guns, Van Halen, and Brown M&Ms. If you do a Google search, you'll discover that there is a system called a threat projection system, or threat image projection, TIP. And what this does is it places fictional threat items, such as a gun, in the luggage of normal people's bags as it passes through the X-ray scanner. If the X-ray operator sees the threat in the luggage, they'll press the threat key on the keyboard, and then the image will disappear, acknowledging that they saw it properly. Alternatively, if they press the threat key and the image doesn't disappear, then the threat is real. And if they fail to identify the threat and it passes off screen, a warning message will alert the operator that the threat was not detected. And so this makes a lot of sense to this type of a system. It assesses the continuous quality of staff of the operation. It assesses the safety. And of course, there are discussions, and if you read, there's a lot of literature discussing how often these should happen, how many times a shift users should see such items. There's also a link in the blog post to a really exceptional article from 2006 on this, discussing some of the limitations of such a system. In particular, if the imaging system doesn't have enough fictional threat images, what happens is within a few weeks, the users essentially memorize the small library of fictional threat images, and then instead of actually looking for real threats on the screen, they look instead for just this small library of fictional threats. And so there's obviously room for improvement in this type of a system, but I think in concept it makes a lot of sense. There's also a 2002 article from The Guardian where they talk about that there in the UK, 90% of the threat images were immediately detected, which of course raises the concern that 10% of these images are not being detected in this case. And with, as they say, over 90 million bags per year being scanned, well, it's a huge number of misses. There's another story that I heard on this area of real-time threat prediction or real-time assessment, and this one comes out of actually a story from Van Halen. When they were touring, they were well known for their over-the-top performances, and many people interpreted the clause in their contract that stated that there will be no Brown M&Ms in the backstage area or the promoter will forfeit the entire show at full pay, just to be another line of rock star excess. However, the food list for the show explicitly said that there had to be M&Ms, but there can't be these Brown M&Ms. And the reason for this clause in the long contract was that if David Lee Roth came backstage and found a Brown M&M, he knew that the promoter probably didn't read the contract, because this was just one of the many clauses in this long document. And not reading the contract was a huge problem, because it had specifications for structural, electrical safety. And if he came backstage, though, and did not find any Brown M&Ms among the M&M pile, he assumes that the contractor probably has followed all the specifications and that the stage probably was set and safe. But if the Brown M&M was identified, he would call for a complete re-safety of the entire stage from scratch, because he couldn't trust that anything had been done properly. I thought this was really interesting, these two stories, and I started asking my friends in other industries about the use of fake data or real-time quality assessments, and it actually sounds like this is rather common. One person spoke of sending defective equipment to the cleaning and reprocessing unit, and if that department didn't identify that the equipment was defective, they essentially knew that they weren't doing their checks properly. Another person spoke of sending incorrect data to different peripheral and remote sites. And if those sites didn't catch that the numbers didn't add up properly, they knew that they weren't doing their assessments on the numbers properly. And so being able to assess the quality of your system in real time as it's actually happening seems a critical part of any industry. And then this, of course, leads to a question such as, well, does medicine have real-time quality assessments? How do we assess the real-time quality of physicians, labs, operations, and services being delivered in healthcare? Well, I think the short answer is no. We don't have real-time quality assessment. and that will be the discussion of the next post.